So let's talk about inspections. Inspections are a very important part of real estate transactions. And if you're a seller, the inspections are important because you want to know what your house looks like from the inspector's perspective. Before I go into that, it's important to understand there's different types of inspections. If you like this video, if you like the videos that I do, please like and subscribe. Inside this video, I'm going to talk about inspections, clearly, and I'm also going to give you the ins and outs of the different types of inspections that there are. When a seller thinks about inspections, they think about county inspections, they think about the inspector coming out to make sure that nothing gets flagged or nothing gets condemned. I absolutely understand why sellers think that unless they've had a conversation about inspections and what to expect from inspections. Inspections, when we're working on the sale of a home, is completely different than a county inspector coming out to see if there's any issues with the house. Now, any inspector, their job is truly to make sure that they point out anything that's wrong. A county inspector or a health inspector, they're going to come out at a restaurant, for example, and they'll make sure that they find any issues that are there, that are a flag or that cause an issue that are out of compliance. County inspector for a property inspection, when the county inspector comes out, it's still the same thing. You are going to have them come out when you're trying to get permits on a home. Having permits on a home with a county inspector, that's going to be how you get the permit finalized and throughout the process. First, you're going to go in to the county and you're going to request for the permits. Then you're going to write up the plans. After you write up the plans and throughout the process, you'll also have an inspector come out to make sure that you start the process properly and that you go through the process and have the inspector sign off each time. That's the county inspector, that's the property inspector for the county for permits or things of that nature if you're building a house. That's that inspection. The inspection that you're actually typically talking about when you are purchasing a home and selling a home is going to be a property inspector. The property inspector can do different things on the property. We can have a foundation inspection, we can have a property inspection, and I'll go through these in a pest inspection as well as a roof inspection. Now, the property inspection tends to be one of the first things that we always do. And many times when the inspector comes out, we'll order all the inspections at once. And whether it's before work is done or afterwards, that's going to be up to the project. And that's also going to be up to the agent and the seller. It can go all sorts of different directions. When you order the property inspection, the inspectors are going to come out and they're going to look at the house and they're going to look for things like the door jambs. They're going to look for things like the GFCIs, which are the outlets, making sure that there are GFCIs. If there are not GFCIs, you're not going to have to go and replace those GFCIs unless you want to. If you want to replace them as the seller, then you can. When the inspector comes out and if they call things out on that inspection report that are not safe, that are a hazard, like it could be a tripping hazard, those are not necessary to take care of. It's going to be up to you as the seller and your agent inside that conversation. Every one of my sellers, we have a conversation about it, and I'll give them the ups and the downs, the ins and the outs. It doesn't always make sense to repair everything or anything sometimes. And that's going to be the home inspection. Roof inspection, same thing. Roof inspection is not always done. Many times the roof inspection will be done as a caveat to the home inspection. And the roof inspector is going to come, or the home inspector will look at the roof, and the home inspector will give it a visual. If you do have a roof inspector, they will actually go a little bit deeper, and they will give more insight to what the issues are. A home inspector on a visual, if it's included in the home inspection, they'll typically say, if they do see something, they'll typically say something like, have a roof inspector come out. And Inside of each of these inspections, what's very important to point out is that sometimes the inspections, and it does matter on which inspections we're talking about, the pest inspections and the roof inspectors, they can actually own company that does the repairs. So they can actually be a general contractor or a GC that owns these companies, and so they'll actually offer the repairs as well. They'll offer the estimates. So that's important to understand. And you do not need to go with them in order to get that. You can always get a second opinion. It also depends on the inspector. You want to make sure that you're working with people who are reputable. So we talked about the home inspection, touch base on the roof inspection. A foundation inspection is typically not something that is ordered or something that is done unless there's obvious foundation issues or unless the other inspector calls out the foundation. Now again, what's very important to understand is that the foundation inspectors are sometimes general contractors who specifically work on foundations. Not always. And so again, when you're working with people, make sure they are reputable companies. Make sure they are companies that are not just looking to get work. One person may see an issue, the next person who does the inspection may not see an issue, and it might very well be the person who sees the issue is the one who's wanting to get the work, or they just see a solution there that they can provide. Not to mean that they're trying to rip anybody off. Now, the other inspection is going to be the pest inspection. And the pest inspection is going to also include Section A work, which is work from things like water leaks and things of that nature. So the pest inspection is looking under sinks. They're looking for termites, they're looking for other pests as well. So rodents, squirrels, all different types of pests. Now, what's important to know again, if a pest inspector calls something out, they are not required to be fixed. So this is the biggest piece, the biggest difference. Inspections to sell a home, and this is California specifically, I work in Silicon Valley. Inspections to sell a home, they are not being done by a county inspector for things that are required to be fixed. If there are electrical issues or if the inspector calls out electrical issues, it is for the buyer to be aware. That is the only reason and the only purpose for it. And that is for the buyer and the seller to understand. If the market is in a position where the buyer has the upper hand and the buyer can ask for these things to be taken care of during escrow or through escrow, then that is something that can be done through the negotiations. Many times in Silicon Valley, we're not in that position where a buyer can really negotiate, quite frankly, much. And right now, we're actually in that position where the buyer cannot negotiate a whole lot, and it's best for the buyer to come in and take the house as is, and just know that those things are there. And up front, you can know those things are there, and if you are in a position where a house has been sitting on the market for a bit, then you can negotiate with the seller for a lower price, and you know those things are there, and then you come in and you can take care of them after close. Let me know if you have any questions. I'm always here and happy to help. Hope you're having a wonderful day. Take care.